Okay, so it seems like there's been a little bit of a situation and rent is due for one ex-Nijisanji member being Kyrio Cifer, who is obviously a indie VTuber now ever since graduating as Hex Haywire whenever, you know, I think it's back in 2024 in August. So again, a lot of people have been speaking about him though recently due to a couple of tweets which have kind of blown up and angered a lot of people. Now, you know, obviously I think this is supposed to be rage bait or whatever, but it does just end up making him look very, very stupid, because this is the one tweet that is kind of going pretty popular right now, which is, yeah, we're not hating men enough. Which again is pretty insane, right? There's obviously this whole sentiment where, you know, people, the men obviously hating on women and then women hating on men, and it just becomes this whole kind of mess. And then you have like people in between that like to pander to certain audiences and communities, including obviously Kyrio, who has a very, very large female audience, right? Of course, he has a very, very large female audience, as a lot of male VTubers do. And obviously it was the same being Hex as well. And yeah, obviously he is pandering a lot to that kind of audience, saying we're not hating men enough, despite obviously being a man himself. But again, people have kind of been commenting on this as well, which I thought was quite funny, including people like Tectone saying, so you hate George Floyd? Which, yeah, I think it's quite funny. It's like even Zora Mamdani saying, so you hate Martin Luther King? So you seem like a fantastic and amazing guy, right? So I think it is pretty funny that all of these people are coming up with these, I guess, rebuttals or whatever, because I think it is obviously such a broad statement to say we're not hating men enough. Now, sure, of course, you can hate certain men and certain women and certain people, right, because of whatever their actions, but I think obviously just hating men in general or hating women in general is just stupid, right? It's not going to get anybody anywhere, and I think it is a very dumb thing to really post. But of course, you know, this is all to do with like pandering to his audience and essentially trying to conjure up a little bit of support from them, and that, you know, obviously the female audience that he has is going to of course get behind him and say, oh yeah, you're so right, you know, we're not hating men enough, when there shouldn't be any hate whatsoever, you know, towards anybody. But of course, these people continue to push this kind of stuff, and I think it is extremely cringe. People saying, Banana Juju saying, someone is either looking for feminist pussy or engagement money, not sure yet. Obviously, this was a post from before saying, people on this site are getting way too comfy with being unkind. And yeah, I think that is a pretty crazy tweet, considering he literally tweeted that like about a month ago. A month before he posted this, he said people are getting too comfy with you know, being you know, unkind, and he goes and, you know, be's unkind on his page, right? He says we're not hating men enough, which again I think is I don't know, it's ironic, right? And yeah, there's other posts as well that come up saying getting cancelled, so sad, anyways I'm live on Twitch. So he did go live on Twitch afterwards to kind of farm it, and then says in 2026 I will continue to rage bait men even more. Now yeah, obviously in terms of his Twitch and stuff, he's streaming actually right now, it seems like. He averages around about 500 to 400 viewers, and that seems to be a pretty consistent number, and I'm sure a lot of this is getting him attention recently. So I feel like this is going to, of course, you know, be something that might continue over on his channel in terms of the, you know, hating on men and pandering so much to this kind of audience. But again, because obviously it is giving him a slight boost, I guess, in viewership and a slight boost in kind of attention that maybe he doesn't have so much as an indie VTuber, right? Because obviously he's massive. Ex-Nijisanji, 373,000 followers, and he's, you know, it's still at 97,000. He's not like a small creator or anything, but again, obviously much smaller than his previous persona. So maybe he's kind of using a lot of the attention he's getting now to, of course, kind of get people into his community and stuff, which I guess if that's the strategy you want to go for, then that's the strategy you want to go for, right? But yeah, people have been commenting on this as well, saying never seen such a community notice before, saying checkmark, judging from their post history, this is most likely rage bait to farm engagement. And yeah, it seems like it is some kind of rage bait to get up people's attention. But I think there is a difference between like trying to rage bait people to get engagement or to get, you know, kind of attention from people, and also like looking stupid, right? Because you can rage bait people and you can be, you know, stupid online to get that kind of attention, but it still doesn't stop you from looking, you know, looking stupid. Like, it doesn't matter if you're rage baiting someone or not, you still look dumb making a comment like, we're not hating men enough. Regardless of whether you're rage baiting or you're doing it for money or you're doing it for followers or whatever, you know, you still look stupid at the end of the day. Saying, I mean, I was content enough when he moved on and seemingly distanced himself from what he used to do and be a Niji. But what kind of performative crap is this? What even is the context? They say the context is farming ad revenue from rage bait posts. They say Starbucks looms over him and demands him to work, but he doesn't want to. They say, wait, I didn't know you could get ad revenue off Twitter as well, which you can, by the way. I have tested this out myself, and it is actually very, very good. There was actually a ton of money in posting Twitter posts, and you know, I don't know how many views this one got. Yeah, 1.3 million views. He's getting a pretty good bag from that. I can tell you that. As someone who's also had a similar couple of posts that are blown up from that. I'd say the context is that this is how he does his go live tweets. They range from saying things like this to emo ones like I don't care anymore or I'm gonna do that, which I'm not gonna say. So not sure why this one happened to blow up, but it's pretty par for the course for him. Is I just checked his Twitter to see for myself, and yeah, it checks out. Granted, some of his are harmless enough, but I'm not too surprised with this. I'm not too surprised this one took off, since he's not just being edgy by himself, but accusatory instead. Also, it seems like this is not the first time he's done this either, and they obviously post a different thing here, obviously on the kind of other X counts or whatever you call it. Say, men could be so handsome, I wish they were good people, which, yeah, it seems like this isn't the first time that he obviously hasn't gone after, that he has gone after men, sorry. This is obviously a couple of times he's done this, despite obviously being a man himself. They say you can say Haywire, which obviously that's such a terrible joke. Yeah, obviously they say this is one of the 6 to 7 the views of similar tweets with way more negative comments and quote retweets towards him. I guess it just happened to leave his target audience and snowballed from there. And yeah, you can see here, there's other posts saying, I hate men. Manipulative men are the worst people. I get so angry whenever women say they don't listen to opinions of men because I started not listening to men's opinions first. So yeah, obviously very, very performative there, and obviously trying to capture a certain audience, which, you know, it's something you see quite a lot, right? People that pander to this kind of hating men stuff, because there is a lot of people that would enjoy that, and of course they will become infatuated with a VTuber like this, and you know, become a big fan due to the fact that he is also someone who hates men, right? Which I think is kind of crazy, and we've seen it before, right? People are constantly being attacked for supporting men as well, which I think is crazy. That is even something that is going on in the space. We covered this before with Chibidoki, where she essentially celebrated, I think it was International Men's Day, and she was kind of celebrating her dad and talking about some of the stuff that you know, they were doing together on the day, and just essentially being thankful for him. And of course, a ton of people had a big issue with that, which I think obviously is absolutely horrible, that nobody can express their kind of love for a man that is in their life, right, including her dad, which I think is crazy. And obviously, yeah, there's a lot of people outraged at the kind of reaction that she got for essentially supporting men. And of course, it's the same people that will go and support Kyrio and you know, support the kind of comments that he's making about men, saying that, you know, we're not hating on them enough, or I hate them, or whatever. It's just like, okay, bro, get that bag, I guess. They say, who this? They said, formerly Hex Haywire. They said, thank you for being direct instead of vague posting that this sub had to decide to adopt. Said, yeah, it's so annoying. Said, thank you. Said, give him a break, /J. It's been a slow month and his rent is due. Said, he's actually doing so well, it's physically nauseating. Just look at his subathon gains, it's insane. So yeah, obviously people saying, I don't even know why he's doing this. Like, it seems like he's doing good in terms of money anyways. I said, you know, this is one of the reasons I greatly dislike Twitter and don't use it anymore. You shouldn't get paid to be the worst possible version of yourself. I don't really have any more context to that, and that's the most I'll say. They're saying, we're not hating men enough. Yeah, you and the rest of your kind. Which obviously is quite funny. They say, well, he got what he's asking for, but people started with him. They said, saw this and immediately thought, why does he tweet this kind of stuff? Engagement farming? Get validation? I feel like not everything on your mind should be put on display over the internet. They said, how can you call this kind of person again? Grifting to the other gender by trashing your gender to make you look like the good ones. And obviously, yeah, it's like a performative male. That is the kind of thing they say. The female version of this would be called a pick-me, but I don't think there's even a male equivalent. The term performative male comes to mind, but it's not exactly how that term is used. I still think it is pretty performative, right? But again, they say, yeah, I think pick-me works, which, yeah, obviously we all know why he's doing it, right? We all know, because I think it is kind of multiple things. I think a tweet like this will get a lot of attention and it'll get a lot of money if he does have monetization turned on for his Twitter, right? That's number one. You know, he gets engagement, and of course he gets money from that, and he gets people that come over to his channel. And I think B, kind of going into this second thing, is that he will get people who also hate men going into his channel, and obviously he will pander to those people, and will kind of, you know, I guess have a stream more centered and a personality more centered around that, so he can essentially farm them also for money, right? I think that is essentially it, right? And yeah, I think that is the two big reasons as to why these posts kind of exist and why he's doing this, is because it captures an audience. It captures an audience and it makes money and gives them attention at the same time, especially negative attention. As they say, you know, any attention is good attention, even if it is negative. And yes, of course, there's been many people that would obviously support him and would kind of, you know, back him up with this kind of statement as well after seeing it and after seeing other people kind of hating on it. So yeah, there's going to be some people that will find his channel through a post like this, and that will obviously gain him more viewers, gain him more money, and of course make him more successful at the end of the day, right? He was saying Kyrio tweeting this mere hours before it was revealed that Taylor Swift called Justin Verdoni a little bitch in DMs. I don't even know what that's all about, but yeah, obviously lots of people calling the you know, saying the people on this site are getting way too comfy of being unkind, and then him obviously doing it a month later, which I think is quite funny. He was saying Kyrio getting hate in replies, the randoms and locals have found him, which again, there is a lot of support for this as well, which I think is absolutely crazy that there is anybody that supports this kind of behavior, because as I said, there shouldn't be hate being spread to anybody. And obviously, you know, of course it is rage bait, but at the end of the day, you do look stupid trying to send hate towards men in general, right? They're saying, bro's trying way too hard, guess he needs to leave since he's a man as well. So don't cry about any hate that you get. So yeah, obviously a lot of people, you know, saying this kind of stuff. Said, I support this statement every day I wake up. I hate them a little more. It's never enough though. So obviously you got more men haters there, you know, saying, you hating your sorry ass has nothing to do with us. And obviously I'm not going to read that second bit. But yeah, there's been a lot more, as you can see through these posts, more extreme things that have been going over this way. Obviously, people saying it's always projection with these people. Everyone bringing up this kind of secondary post here saying, loser stuff, men rock, you're a stain on the VTuber community as well. Which obviously, yeah, it seems like a lot of people are also backing them up. I don't know if this is a guy. I feel like this is a woman. So again, even women are being like, hey, no, you're wrong. Which I think is crazy that this even has to be said, right? Because obviously I'm not saying like every single woman is going to support what he is saying. That is not the case. There's going to be a lot of women who actually disagree with what he's saying. As I said, you know, we've had like people like Doki and stuff who've been attacked for supporting men in the past. And of course, I think it is getting to the point now where it's pretty ridiculous, right? Where as a man is saying that we're not hating men enough, and you know, obviously saying that there's too much negativity and stuff going around and people getting too comfortable being negative, and now he's going ahead and doing it because of course it gets views, it gets money, and yeah, it seems like that is entirely his plan, especially with this latest tweet saying in 2026 I'll continue to rage bait men more, which obviously, yeah, of course there's some people saying king shit and stuff like that, which I don't even know. I don't even think that's king shit. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like it's just cringe, right? I think it's cringe, and of course, you know, everybody has a way to capture an audience, so you know, fair enough if he is getting that bag and it's working for him, then fine. But I don't think spreading hate towards certain groups of people is exactly the way that you should really be getting attention, right? And I think it is pretty sad that is how he gets attention. You know, right now, especially after having such a good career over at Nijisanji, right? So again, you know, that is essentially all there is for this situation. I just kind of wanted to cover it a little bit because I thought it was pretty crazy and pretty unhinged, and lots of people have been calling him out for how kind of hypocritical it was, and it is kind of scary to see how many people actually support him in these kind of statements as well. But that's all I got for this video. If you guys did enjoy it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to oh my god, go to GamerSubs. Use my code CASA, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. I definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.